Alec Bohm had a pretty solid showing at the Home Run Derby last night. Well, at least a better showing than that chick that sang the national anthem. We're going to talk Home Run Derby today. We also have the great Chris Franklin from NJ.com joining us in about 30 minutes to talk Eagles as we are now a week away from training camp starting, guys. Football season is almost here. I can't believe it. Train the AM, we're live with that and so much more. I'm back, baby. We're live in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill wherever you are watching. Hit that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that follow button. You know the drill wherever you're at. I'm on my last day of restriction on Facebook, so I get back to sharing it out tomorrow, but not today. So I need you, one and all, to get that share button, subscribe, follow button. We got lots to talk about today. Lots and lots to talk about. Home Run Derby, the good, the bad, the ugly. We got to talk about Eagles training camp is a week away. Chris Franklin joining us in 30 minutes. We got to talk about another dopey list made by ESPN. Well, actually, collected information from ESPN where Jalen Hurts is listed not as a top 10 quarterback. We got to talk about what I missed on this show yesterday. Skippy Payless about done at FS1. So much happened just in the last 24 hours and not being on this show. So we're going to get all into it. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. You can find me everywhere at Beard of Knowledge, guys. I forgot my glasses. I left them upstairs. So if I can't read your comments, guys, I apologize ahead of time. Good morning, Adam. How are you this morning? Can't believe Jalen Hurts not in the yeah. I mean, we're going to get into that list momentarily at some point here. Again, Chris Franklin will be joining us at 8:30. That'll get us started on some Eagles talk. Got to start a little bit of the show off with the Home Run Derby last night and Alec Bohm. What is up, Jason? It's always puts a smile on my face when I see you. See your name. It makes me smile so much. The most relentless, dedicated. I appreciate that. I try. Although I took a day off from the, I made my 180 pizzas and we closed up. I feel lazy because I didn't do it. What's up, Barb? I could sing the national anthem better than that girl. I had to Google it because I don't know who she is. Ingrid Andress? Andress? I don't even know who the hell she is. I don't even know how to pronounce her name. Barbara, I'm glad you're in the comments because I watched a little bit of yesterday's show on replay and I caught you telling Freddie Burns, the host that filled in for me yesterday, fire Rob Thompson if we don't get to the World Series. And I love the comment. And I don't want to get into that conversation, but I might slightly agree with you. So I love it. And I love that he called you ruthless and you didn't back down, Barbara. So shout out to Barbara for bringing the heat, bringing the honesty. You know, what's this show all about where your opinions actually matter? Your opinion matters to me. And I might be on the same page as you. Just maybe. But yes, yesterday's Home Run Derby. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Alec Bohm and how he looked much better than we expected. He was one home run away from making the finals. Well, one to tie, two to get in. Clearly made the semifinals without any hesitation. The most home runs in the first round. So there was that aspect of the Home Run Derby. But 99% of the Derby last night was atrocious boring, horrible to listen to or watch. The pregame festivities, terrible. All the new rules that they constantly put in make it one of the hardest things to watch in the world. Let me tell you something. In between Alec Bohm getting his home runs and the end of the first down, I fell asleep. I mean, I know I was up at 5 a.m. yesterday to make pizzas, but I fell asleep in the home run derby last night. When back 10, 15, 20 years ago, there's no chance I'm falling asleep in the derby. My wife asked if it was coming to Philly ever. I'm like, 2026. I'm like, I'd like to go see the derby. Then I'm like, you know what? Honestly, I don't want to go to the home run derby when it comes to Philly in 2026. It is the most boring, awful event in the world. The whole process of it is. And then on top of it, you got a box before the derby with all the players packed in this little box. They come out to their intro. It fell a little flat for me, but it wasn't awful. Then you get this singer coming out. Ingrid Andress. Andress? I don't know. Grammy-nominated singer. And she sings the worst national anthem I have ever heard. And you know what makes it worse? And I know everybody's saying, well, Roseanne Barrs is still worse. Roseanne Barr is not a singer. Ingrid is a Grammy-nominated singer. So either A, she had a really bad night, or B, just proves that a lot of her music is, prefab, dubbed and edited, and I don't know. Like, that was just the fact that she was Grammy-nominated and sang that bad. The fact that the players on the field were laughing because they couldn't hold it in. Like, that's... And where was the person in the audio visual room with the microphone settings? There's auto tuners and there's ways to clean up somebody's voice, on those soundboards. Not my Temu $20 soundboard. We're talking state-of-the-art soundboards. Somebody couldn't fix that? Did they not do a sound check? Like, it was so bad. Embarrassing. Hell, the thing was supposed to start at 8. By the time the national anthem and the intros, it was 8:30. I don't know what time it ended. I watched the end of the first round. I watched the beginning of the second round. And I fell asleep. 10:30, out. God knows how late the derby went last night. And obviously, it was won by, what's his name? Teoscar. I don't even know how to say his name. Hernandez. Whatever. She's a country singer for it. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know every country music singer out there. I'm not a huge country music fan. My country music love is like Kenny Chesney, which is more trop rock than country almost to an extent now. Island music more now. So I'm not even a huge country. Whatever. If you're nominated for a Grammy, you've got to be a fairly successful singer, let alone 4 Grammys. That was so bad. Home Run Derby has become watered down. I don't know if it's not necessarily just watered down, Jason. I think it's also they're constantly trying to change the rules to make it better. But every rule change, like I miss, you get 10 outs. That's it. You swing, you whatever, 10 outs. I don't want this time thing just swinging away. You got 3 minutes to take 40 swings last night. The cameras can't follow the baseballs to the field. You have no idea what's going on. Hell, the players have to keep being told the rules. The announcers were getting the rules wrong mid-derby constantly. Why fix what's not broken? The Derby was never broken. Eventually, Chris Berman was going to retire. I get that. You're never going to replace Chris Berman. Back. But why fix it? Like the dunk contest has been ruined because of that. At least the Derby sometimes gets big-name stars in it. I mean, Ohtani probably, if he wasn't recovering from Tommy John, would have been in it. You had some big bashers, in it last night. So it was just pathetic. The process and the way it's set up, the way it's done is just straight garbage. And honestly, I think the All-Star game tonight, which is interesting, which we'll talk at the end of the show, whatever. Because again, about 20 minutes, we'll have Chris Franklin join us. We'll talk some Eagles football. Then we'll get back into baseball and all. But the All-Star game itself is the best of the 4 All-Star games. But the Derby, after what I watched last night, is literally slam dunk level cringeworthy, in my opinion. It's much more. It's the dunk contest lasts like 40 minutes, Rick. The Derby last night was probably 4 hours long. I remember back in the day watching replays of derbies from the past and had a lot more. Yeah, you can watch an old derby that you already know the results of and enjoy it more than last night's cringe. Just atrocious. Morning, Mitchie Poo. How you doing? Great job last week with Philly 500, FYI. There were only 8 competitors and it took 3 hours. Pathetic, Barbara. Who's got 3 hours? Who wants to stay up till 11:30 watching home runs? Like, you're trying to bring in the new young kids and the new audience, not actually seeing and tracking where the baseball's going isn't going to create new fans. There wasn't one 500-foot home run last night. It was the shortest home run derby of all time. Pathetic. Kids want to see. Chicks dig the long ball. Well, no chicks saw the long ball because they couldn't actually show a pitch. What's up, Joe? How you doing this morning? Bring back the old. I say it every year, Adam. Bring back the old format. 10 outs. That's it. I remember what they used to call it, the 21st century. Realtor, the home run ball, whatever, for charity, whatever. All good. But the format like this gets the batters gassed. And it's terrible. And it's so complicated. Literally, the cameras picked up the on-field producer trying to explain the rules to the batter as he's walking into the batter box. And he had no clue. He's like, what? Whatever, I'll just go swing. It's so overcomplicated. And seriously, you got to take 40 swings in 3 minutes and you expect some of that. That's probably part of the reason why you don't get 500-foot home runs anymore, because they're just swinging. They're just hacking. I want to track the ball. I want to see it land in the upper deck and the counter. Like, dude, one of the batters in the first round, he was out of balls and it said 8 home runs. And then 2 seconds later, it said 14. So the tracker can't even keep up with it because there's so much going on. I don't know about that. The Derby was pretty bad last night. Mitch, I'm not ready to say the Derby's greater than Kyle Lowry. Yes, campaign sign with the Boston Celtics, or the Knicks. The Knicks last night. But Terry Johnson's really who we all wanted anyway, so it's okay. Good morning, Duck. How you doing? I hope you guys didn't miss me yesterday. Outside of Barbara, I hope you all gave Freddie a warm welcome. I still love. I had one note originally written down for today to congratulate Barbara for her fantastic comment and firing Freddie up yesterday. I loved it. I turned it off when Bohm lost. I fell asleep after Bohm hit in the first round. I dozed off and missed his second round, and I just turned it off. I'm like, I don't really care. Watching paint dry. Well, no. So baseball's a great sport, Tech. Let's understand. Baseball is a fantastic. You're talking to Mr. Baseball here. Well, not Mr. Baseball, but you know what I mean. I love baseball. But the Derby last night, literally, I flipped over to the Republican National Convention for 2 minutes, which I really wish I would have done a show yesterday because I could have gotten deep into politics and this country and the conversation. Don't have the time today because we have a guest coming up here in about 15 minutes. But, man, I almost wanted to go live and do a live show on Saturday night after this, all the stuff that happened. But that's how boring it was. And I'm not even a Republican. Phil, big day. Train the AM and Fairway to Heaven tonight for the Open Camp. Oh, absolutely. Jam-packed day. I can't wait till tonight. Stevie Fuentes right here from EOP joining Jason and I. And Scotty Holdridge, one of the most awesome guys in the world on Twitter talking golf, will be joining us. Funny-ass man. Looks a lot like John Morrison. Not the singer, the wrestler. A lot like John Morrison. So you guys will have to tune in tonight to a jam-packed 4-person panel as we break down this week's Open and why I think Colin Morikawa is going to win another major this week in Scotland. It used to be 440-foot homers for extra time. Now they shortened it. Yeah, because they can't hit it that far when they're rapid firing. I don't think it's the guys can't hit home runs far anymore, Barbara. I think it's the format is causing them to be gassed, so they can't do it. They're rushing everything. And they got to swing at everything thrown at them, which throws off rhythm. I try not to cover. Tech, I made one joke on Twitter right after it happened. And I don't know if you're a Sopranos fan. There was an episode of The Sopranos when Bobby, trying to make a little extra money, gets paid by some street thug to shoot him, to give him street cred, paid Bobby like $5K for it. Whatever. I made a joke about that. Not actually believing that was the case, but I just did. And my time, I literally had to delete the tweet. So I made another tweet about just, let me say, whatever, and it blew up. And so many people, even people I respect and follow and interact with regularly, just fighting. I hate it. It's so divisive, politics. It really is. This weekend was an embarrassment on both sides of the table for our country. It is. I remember that guy before. Yeah. Scotty. Scotty is fantastic. And he has no idea who John Morrison or Johnny Impact or Johnny TV or Johnny whatever his name is right now goes by. I think he's in Ring of Honor and AEW now. I don't even know. But he had no idea who it was. But that's who's coming on. And he is a hilarious, hilarious guy. And really smart, too. Did you see the video of what Jack Black said? No. I try not to see any of that stuff. Not at all. Bohm's last 10 balls in the first round were electric. Man was in a rhythm. Yeah. Unfortunately for Alec Bohm, he swung at what? It started about 8:25, 8:30, and he had to wait while 8 or 9 other guys, well, the rest of the 7 other first round guys, and then the 8th. So he had to wait something like an hour to swing a bat again. Down there in the cages, getting ready to re-warm up, and he had a back brace on, probably keep his back loose, but still. Like, I was scared. When I saw him in that back brace for a half a second, I'm like, oh, fudge. But no, I'm sure it was just, to keep him loose because he had to wait so damn long. Everything looks different on my screen. Did Freddie Burns change everything? He did. I like the block look. No, the classic look. There we go. I like the classic look. He changed my colors to dark midnight green, too. I don't like dark colors. Let's put up bright blue till Chris Franklin joins us. Baseball, blue. Sixers, blue. Phillies got blue in them. What did Freddie Burns do? He changed everything on me. What's up with that? Guys, we're brought to you by some great sponsors here at Trending in the AM and Edge of Philly Sports. And before Chris Franklin joins us, I want to make sure I get some of these sponsors in. SherryTickets.com. Great moments don't just happen. They happen with you in the crowd. It's easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. You save even more by using exclusive promo code EOP10 at checkout. It gets you 10% off on top of the no hidden fees. Concert tickets, theater tickets, of course, sporting events. If you need a personal touch, give them a call, 610-494-5050. Just make sure you mention EOP, Trending in the AM. Remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best, SherryTickets.com. And, guys, back to the Derby here. Yeah, that's right. We got to get one sponsor in before Chris joins us here. I don't know if there's even would baseball feel the backlash? Are there fans that actually enjoy the new format? Are there fans that are actually enjoying what they watched last night? I wish it was like in a town or somewhere where I knew somebody that went to the game so I can get their in-person perspective of it. If it's enjoyable to watch in person. I don't even think it's enjoyable. If you're in the outfield and you're watching for a home run ball, maybe to come to your section, 2 more balls might be hit before you even catch that ball. Not really, but one would. I do remember one play at one point last night, a guy caught a home run ball and then looked, and there was another one going right over his head. Seriously. Pathetic. Boring. Obnoxious. So what format would you like? I've said it every year since they've done away with it. The 10-out format worked. No timer. I get it. It gets long. Last night was still 3.5 hours. So it's not like the new format sped it up any. 10 outs is fine. Maybe you put a little timer where they can't take more than X amount of seconds in between pitches. Put the pitch clock. There you go. the 10-out format with the pitch clock that they already use, and that's it. I want to track the balls. I want to see the balls hit the upper deck. I want to see the face on the players and the spectators. I want to see the reaction of Bryce Harper when Alec Bohm crushes one 490 feet. I want to see those reactions. You can't. You got the split screen thing going. You got the lines going all over the place. You got all these different angles. No, it's impossible to pay attention. And I don't know who they're trying to attract fan base wise with that kind of way of doing things. Just my opinion. Yeah, that was pretty boring too. Well, I needed a good night's sleep, mister. They need to have the big home run hitters competing. That's the main problem. I mean, Hernandez is a big home run hitter. Some of those guys, hit the long ball pretty damn well. Ohtani couldn't participate, and he said he wanted to, but with the rehab, he didn't. Bryce Harper being in it would have been nice. Some of the big stars, because a lot of the guys that were in it, they're home run hitters, but they're just not the household names yet. Whereas the dunk contest, you get G leaguers winning it. These guys are really good players that were hitting. They're all-star players that were in the home run derby. So they're all high. Like in the dunk contest, you don't have to be an all-star to be in the dunk contest. So I think, in theory, the guys weren't as bad. It's just they're not household names yet. Pete Alonso, maybe he was the biggest household name because of his home run derby records and stuff. But that's about it. The camera angles were terrible, and the streaks are bad, too. Absolutely. Alec Bohm has some pop in that skinny body of his. If he took some steroids, he would be the next Mark McGwire. Look, I miss the days of McGwire and Sosa and Bonds going at it in the home run derby. I mean, it was must-see TV. And Alec Bohm is not a home run hitter, but he could hit. Like, I think at some point in his career, I've always said he's about an 15 to 20 home run hitter a season. He's got, 11 on the season, so pretty much on par for that. I think it's some season he'll have a breakout season where it's just going well, breakout in the home run department. He might get one season where he gets close to 30, but it's because of the way his swing is. He's got more of a line drive, top spin thing. He hits a lot more doubles and stuff like that. Gappers, opposite. He does everything. Alec Bohm's never going to be a 50 home run hitter. Schwarber, Harper, they're the guys that you would expect to be in the home run derby. And even before they got hurt, they weren't even in the conversation, which is kind of confusing, but it is what it is. I watched it on ESPN2, Jessica Menendez and the StatCast, they called it. Didn't even know they did that, Barbara. Didn't know it. You should have been tweeting at me when I was bitching about it on Twitter last night. I changed the channel. I'm glad Pete Alonso lost. He's a weird person. I don't know if he's a weird person or not. But yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, talk about star power and stuff like that. Nobody wanted to be in the Derby last night, maybe because they realized how awful the format is. So much that you had to have Marcell Ozuna in it, and we all know his story. And it's no bueno. No bueno, Marcell Ozuna. It's just sad. And Pete Alonso, weird person or not, Adam, he can hit a lot of home runs. What they say, he's got the record. He's got the record because the numbers have been inflated over the last few years with all the format changes. But, man, I mean, if you wanted ratings, you needed Pete Alonso to go up against Hernandez in the finals. That didn't happen. Whit Merrifield made the All-Star team. I always want to call him Whit Merrifield just because of the name Whit. No Mas with Marcell. Yeah, it's no bueno. No bueno having Marcell. And putting him in the spotlight like that. And everybody gets a second chance. Everybody gets whatever. But I don't want to watch him. Honestly, I think I fell asleep during his portion of the derby because I don't even remember what he did. It was actually very disappointing last night because Alec Bohm sets the pace with 21 to lead it off. I'm like, dude, that might make it, might not make it. And it ended up being the most of the first round, which is kind of crazy. Because other years, 21 would have been 4th, 5th, 6th place. Nobody hit home runs last night. I wonder what the deal is. Is it because of the format? Is it because of all the pomp and circumstances that make the thing drag on insanely? There's a lot of reasons what it could be. But I don't know. It was boring. It was pathetic. And honestly, last night was proof why I probably won't spend the money and go to the Derby when it's in Philly in 2026. Like, I have no desire. Unless they go back to the 10-out rule. I'm telling you, the 10 that and that's what you get into bonus time and you get 3 outs. And if you hit one 425, you get a 4th out. And at one point, someone had their outs reset. I'm like, what happened? I didn't even know that was a rule. But the bonus time was more enjoyable for me than the regular time. And on top of it, I think I forget which guy it was in the first round, got to bonus time and just swung at the first 3 pitches, got all outs. And I looked, and the guy's like, you should have been more patient. He's like, I didn't even know. He didn't even know the rules where he could be patient. It was just boring. It was just flat. It was just blah. Straight up blah, the home run derby last night. But again, shout out to Alec Bohm for looking good. Shout out for Alec Bohm representing well, representing the daycare well. Shout out to Bryce Harper with the water bottle. That was kind of funny. That was probably the most entertaining thing of the night. And nobody outside of Philadelphia probably even knows what that means. To be honest, the format scares me to hurt or throw off the hitters. Didn't like it. Absolutely. It's just rapid fire. You can't get into a groove. You mess up your groove. Hell, also, you saw some of the pitchers or some of the BP pitchers throwing it, and they got a rapid fire. Some of these guys are like 70 years old, and you saw some of them get tired arms. How many times you throw 40 pitches in 3 minutes? I mean, the whole format is just stupid, silly, unnecessary. Again, for the 100th time, it wasn't broken, the format. And I don't even know how many years this has been, but I've been doing this. We're in more than halfway through season 3 of Trending in the AM. And I think I've talked about it every single year since I started doing this morning show, how atrocious this format is. Do they get anything for winning the All-Star game anymore? Like, they get money, I guess. Obviously, the World Series home field advantage isn't in it anymore, which is great because that was stupid. The All-Star game is one of those things where, in NBA All-Star game, you don't play defense. You just chuck up threes and dunks and stuff like that. In baseball, pitchers still got to throw their normal way or they can hurt themselves. Batters still got to swing the normal way. So while it might not be meaningful to the players, it's not something you can throttle. It's not like other sports where you can throttle down and stuff like that. So it's still throwing 95 miles an hour and it's still swinging at the pitches. So baseball's a little different. And it's always been the reason why I've enjoyed it more. And I will have it on tonight after Fairway to Heaven, which it doesn't start till probably 8. I guarantee I ain't staying up till the end of it. But we'll get to see Bohm, Harper, and Schwartz. Bohm, Harper, and Turner taking some hacks. It used to be the next pitch couldn't be thrown at. Absolutely, Barbara. But they're trying to speed it up because everything needs to be faster. Well, this is one scenario where things don't need to be faster. You're throwing the next pitch before we even know if the pitch before that's a home run or not. I can't keep track of it. They should have an all-star game for umpires. Throw pitches on the edge of the strike zone. Yeah, one of the skills challenges. Balls and strikes for umpires. Yeah. I don't think too many umpires would volunteer for that, mister. Not at all. Because, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But in general, in theory, the all-star game's fun. It's just, is the Derby even less enjoyable to watch now? Even though they've got bigger names in theory in the Derby, is the Derby less interesting to watch than the dunk contest? I still put the 3-point shooting contest as the premier skills competition out of all things in all-star games. And we're gonna pause on the baseball conversation because, guys, like I said before in the show, We are 1 week from training camp starting. So joining us right now, one of my favorite guys in the world right here, always so gracious with his time. He's even got a few days off, and he's still coming on. Chris Franklin, NJ.com. Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, Marvel, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me on, man. Looking forward to this, man.
Oh, absolutely. Real quick, I got to ask you, because we've been spending the first 30 minutes. Did you watch any of that home run derby last night?
Yeah, I watched all the way through. Bohm got there, and that was. I'll say this: I was shocked he got that far. And I've been watching the Twitter trends, and I've seen everybody now looking like, wait a minute, did the format change all of a sudden with that last second? Like when it came to the swing off, so it's crazy. He did better than I thought he did, but it was fun. It was fun to watch.
And I got to ask you, did you even know who? I have to read her name off my thing. Did you even know who Ingrid Andress was before that? Like, I don't even know if I'm saying her name right. I'm like, she's been nominated 4 times for Grammys. I'm like, this is what country music Grammys get you. Come on now, where would you rank that in all-time awful, anthems of all time?
Carl Lewis is definitely up there. Fergie definitely is up there. I mean, you could now if you played them side by side now, you can have Draymond and Alec Bohm now going side by side, looking like with a sly little smile going with that. But that has to be bottom 3 for sure. That was
I
rough.
put it up there so bad. Like, I don't put it up. I put it above Roseanne Barr or some of the non-singers, because she's a Grammy. Like, her and Fergie, they're Grammy nominated singers. Like, you expect better from them than that. It was just so bad, so bad.
It was like, you think like the baseball players have a strike zone. I think she had a pitch zone, and she kind of like went outside and chased it. I don't know if it was like a Castellanos like slider low and away, but whatever that anthem was, at her low and away, and she swung and missed.
Look at the Phillies references. You're not just an Eagles guy. You're a Phillies guy too. I love you dropping the Nick Castellanos joke in there. But let's get to the serious business here. We are a week away from training camp starting next week. And you're going to be there probably every day. You're allowed to be there. It's going to be one of the most paid attention to training camps in a long time for the Eagles, I really think, because of how the collapse happened last year. So my first question for you is, when you get there, I don't know what the first practice is or the first day that you'll be there meeting with guys. The first day you're there watching a practice, who are your eyes going to be on the most the first day, and why?
For me, it's Nick Sirianni, because I just want to see how he handles him being himself in that new role as a CEO. If I had to guess, it may be probably the same, where he's overlooking everything and he just goes from position to position. But I want to see how much he really veers off and goes towards, say the defense, how much time he spends there, how much like that. And I also want to see how his practices are structured. In the last 2 years, they have gotten off to good starts, but we saw what the ending were. And I mean, finished was at 10-1 last year, and then you went on a run in 2022. So it'll be interesting to see how much he veers away from that and how much it affects the start, and also how much the players communicate with him. Like how much is the leadership, how much they're tuned into him. From what we got from OTAs and also in mini camp, it seemed like they're still tuned to him. They were still defending him and everything else. So I want to see that carries on and going on from there.
Okay. I mean, I was expecting you to mention a player, and I love.
Oh, I'm sorry. Saquon's another one too.
No. I love that you put the Sirianni thing in. And on Friday, I have a guest coming on who's a former, independent league coach and coached overseas a little bit, and he's an agent now for players. And I'm going to ask him that same question. Like, you, as a guy that's watched a lot of football and covered a lot of football, you're going to be watching him. Are you confident that he can handle this? I hate using the word demotion, but change in role. Are you confident he can handle that?
I think so. I mean, when I look at everything,
that doesn't sound very confident. I think
it's so much with the unknown when I look at it. Things like it really. I think it really matters how much he gets his message across and changes it up, because you're at the time now when you're coaching. You've been there for a little bit, and guys start to know your message. It's about keeping that message fresh, because if you start to lose it, if you don't do that, guys turn out, okay, well, we know we're going to hear core value, or we hear whatever is going to happen. So I just want to see message wise. I want to see what he does. That's a little bit in terms that's going to be a little bit different as well too.
We'll get to Saquon Barkley in a second, because obviously he's a hot name to talk about. But those coordinators, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, maybe from the mini camps and stuff like that, when you've seen this team together this offseason, thoughts on what you've seen from both of those guys right now on each side of the ball?
Well, one thing I think I'll start defensively, because that's for lack of better words, towards the end of that was just a dumpster fire when it came to Matt Patricia in terms of when he was basically trying to force his defensive style onto a team that wasn't A, equipped, and B, was playing another style in mid-season. It just didn't. It was just messed up, for lack of better words. I look at Vic Fangio. I look at the way he's utilizing that secondary in terms of making it's positioned this in a way, and the
Mhm.
way his schemes and coverages, and now you have athletes on that side of the ball, and you're deep. And, I mean, I don't remember the last time you look at this team. Maybe it's been a little bit that you actually saw 20 defensive backs on this roster, and you can legitimately make a case, whether it be for defensive coverage or for special teams, for about 15 or 16 of them to
Mhm.
make this team. So I think they're really deep on that side. And the only thing I want to see, and I think we'll get a better sense for it, is how he schemes his stunts and everything when they start going 1-on-1 against the offensive line. So I'm looking for that. Offensively with Kellen Moore, there's been some wrinkles. There definitely has been some changes in terms of what they're doing. I know all the talk's been a little emotion and everything else like that, and it's a big part key because what we saw during those 7-on-7s and in the few 11-on-11s, which basically was 7-7, was just the lineman standing up going, "Hi, how you doing?" And to the other defensive lineman. But what I saw in there, like, I like the way that he was getting the matchups that he wanted against those secondary guys as well too, and the use of the bunch formations too, the way that they can basically they basically make a mirror image, like, okay, you're gonna try to match up everybody. You'd have AJ Brown on one side, 1-on-1. Meanwhile, you got to figure out between three defenders, okay, who's got AJ Brown, Paris Campbell, John Ross, or sometimes Saquon Barkley in the middle of that too. So I like the way he's trying to create these matchups for these guys, and I think you'll see a lot better start in terms of flow and the way the things look schematically. It may take a little bit for them to get the verbiage down, but I think
Mhm.
overall, once they get used to that, they'll start to let the athleticism take over and be good from there.
You mentioned the verbiage and all the changes and all, and Jalen Hurts mentioned it was so, new. 90, what do you use? 95% new offense, basically. Um, is Kellen Moore's offense simple enough that they could figure this out? We had a Cowboys fan, come in the comments every so often on this show, and he's scared for Eagles fans because he claims all Kellen Moore does is run curl routes, just like all we did was bubble screens and we hated them. They're scarred with curl routes and all. Do you think Jalen Hurts can handle learning this enough that, in my opinion, the start of the schedule is a little tougher than, the second half of the schedule? Can he learn enough of it to be successful early in the season like he has been in the past?
I think it's gonna be, so I think it'll be adjustment. I think we've seen that beforehand whenever he's in any new system in terms of that. And one thing I think is I think he'll be able to change and adapt to. I mean, he's been through. It's not like with him changing offensive coordinators, almost like changing sheets on the bench. Like, it's almost like a habit every time. It's like, all right, great, here we go. New offensive coordinator. All right, what's the system? You just hope that he doesn't take what he's learned and then goes back to say whatever Moore is teaching them, and he goes back to what Johnson said, a similar term, and you go from there. And from what I've heard in terms of the system and everything, even when it comes down to play calling, it's a little easier because it helps because Moore was a former quarterback. So you see that.
Mhm.
In terms of the whole curl route, all he runs curl, I think that's something to watch. Because it goes in hand with what when they say Devontae, like how much freedom they have in this offense now. A
Mhm.
lot of it's all option routes, and the
Mhm.
way that if you get a good defensive coordinator to really start to influence them and play mindfully, he's like, okay, yeah, we're going to make sure that we're not going to let you be deep, so we're going to take away if there's a go route or tagged on a certain coverage. Well, all right, we're going to say that, so they have to cut it off and do a stop route or a slant, take a defense. I just hope the one thing I really think you see more in the Moore offense that I hope that Jalen Hurts really takes advantage of is the running backs into the slot area, and also I hope he takes advantage of Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert could really have a big year in terms of his production, what he can do in this system.
Wrong. Dallas Goedert's got to stay healthy. So
That's a
he's
big
one of
thing
my
too.
guys that I have. He gets Joel. So many people in Philadelphia, Joel Embiid, others, they're always hurt and they get criticized for it. Dallas Goedert never gets criticized about the fact that he's never healthy. I mean, he's missed a lot of time over the last 3-4 years. Back to the running back though, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, I think I don't even think Philadelphia Eagles fans realize the impact that Saquon Barkley is going to have, and not just because he's a great player, but I kind of feel like after watching all these clips from Hard Knocks, Saquon Barkley's got to have a massive, massive chip on his shoulder to just prove that the Giants made because I don't think he wanted to leave New York. I really truly believe he wanted to stay and be a Giant for life. Like, there's got to be a massive chip on his shoulder there.
Well, I've been loving this Hard Knock series more and more just to see the
The
mind of
first
some of
time
these
I've
the
watched
director
it
for it.
in in years.
It is interesting, and I love, especially that first episode we saw them talk about DeAndre Swift. Well, if you bring him, you're going to have to bring another back. All little nuggets like that.
Mhm.
But the one thing I think is that I think when you look at the overall impact he can have, I mean, on this offense, and I know it's used a lot more in basketball. When you look at the top term gravity, AJ Brown has gravity. If he goes somewhere, he's going to bring a couple eyes with him. I think when you have Saquon Barkley out, he brings even more of a gravity just because of his position himself, but how well he does things. So now when teams were playing that deep cover, like cover four and everything, trying to not let the Eagles wide receivers do that. Can't do it, or there's too high safeties. You can't do that now because Saquon Barkley can really run up the yards if you do that. So now you got to bring that safety down. All of a sudden, that just opens up the fact that he's even on the field can open up so much opportunities for these other aspects of the offense. And oh yeah, when he gets the ball, he has the threat to do that as well too. I think behind this line, even with the questions with Steen or what have you, right guard. I think behind his line, he can average 4 or 5 yards a carry at a minimum. So I think he can do really good. So overall, he's a big impact. And I know everybody says Christian McCaffrey. I don't think he put up Christian McCaffrey numbers, but I think he have a Christian McCaffrey impact in that sort of way.
Yeah, I think that's
Which
very key
everything
that
else.
people phrase it that way. It's the Christian McCaffrey impact, not the numbers, because you still have
Right.
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and whatnot. But even last year, the last 2 years, honestly, with Miles Sanders in 22 and last year with Swift, our running backs put up great numbers behind this offensive line, but there still was always this philosophy of mixing in Gainwell, mixing in Boston Scott, obviously getting the wide receivers involved. A.J. Brown has had an insane amount of yards. Do you think that they will go away from that rotation and really lean heavily as Saquon Barkley is the number one guy, clear cut? No, we're not going to be sitting here. Why did Kenny Gainwell have 12 rushes to Saquon's 13 in the game? Is that even a chance that continues to happen this year?
I think the only chance that happens is they're up by like 40, and it's like, okay, you
Okay.
know what? Like 2022, they're up by 30, 40, and like, okay, let's get Kenny out there. We don't want to
Mhm.
risk it on that one too.
Yeah.
I think you'll still see a lot of. I think you'll still see a decent amount of game will, but nothing to the point. I think if I had to put a percentage on it, I think you see Saquon gets about 75% of the carries, and then from there you get Gainwell you to expel him when Saquon needs a rest, and then Shipley would probably take the Boston Scott role more of last year as opposed to the year before that. So I think when you look at everything else, yeah, this is mainly Saquon's role because the benefit was you brought Gainwell back in because you thought he'd be the receiving threat on third downs and passing downs, where you got that in Barkley. When you look at the pass blocking, Barkley is the best pass blocker among the running backs, so you don't have to worry about that aspect in terms of protecting Hurts. So overall, you sign Saquon Barkley all this money, you need to be that
Mhm.
80%, 75, 80% carry or workload and to protect Hurts as well too on the blind side and be a receiver.
Yep. You mentioned Tyler Steen a few moments ago, talking about blocking for Saquon, and we had a big conversation on this show about a week and a half ago. One of my things that I'm keeping an eye on is not just Tyler Steen, but also Cam Jurgens, that center right guard position. Cam Jurgens was a very good right guard. They slid him over where he was drafted to be to center. Everyone's concerned about Tyler Steen, and I'm more concerned about Cam Jurgens because it's a lot harder to replace one of the greatest centers of all time that literally was the quarterback of that offensive line. I know he's been trained by Jason Kelsey versus Tyler Steen at right guard, who, I mean, he hasn't had much experience, but again, he was drafted for that spot anyway. I'm more concerned. I'm going to be watching both a lot, throughout camp and all the reports on them. Do you have any concerns about Cam Jurgens filling in for Jason Kelsey and taking over that role? Because to me, that Jason Kelsey did a lot. The blitz pickups, everything, and it scares me a little bit that there's going to be some rough patches early on in the season.
I think that's the main thing that when you mentioned the butt pickups, I think overall just adjusting because the main thing with Kelsey is athletically, they're not. I think they're both around the same time right now. What you saw with Kelsey last year to see where Cam is this year, I think they're athletically they're going to be about the same, and you'll see a lot of that if they run screens or what have you, like running that zone running scheme. But when you look at the way that Kelsey, big difference is Kelsey's was around the league so long, he started to see different variations of fronts. So he can call it out right away. Cam may have seen it in terms of watching it on film or tape, but that's a whole different level. From up top, it looks different as opposed to when you got all these different things in front of you, and all of a sudden you may not have the same sight line as you look around. And defensive coordinators are going to test them with that early. Especially, I think, especially the biggest game I think that will pacify things. I know it's 3 games into the season is that Dennis Allen and the Saints are going to really test him. He's one of the better defensive coordinators in the league, defensive minds in the league. That's where you have to know, like, okay, where's Cam at? That's the true litmus test. But
I think that's great.
that's the concern I have when it comes to Cam, though.
See, and the thing I keep talking and thinking about is the fact that Cam Jurgens had a really good season as a right guard, but he had Lane Johnson on one side and he had Jason Kelce on the other. Kind of helped. Kelce could call it out instantly, like you said, but he can also help coach Cam Jurgens at right guard. Cam Jurgens isn't going to be able to help coach Tyler Steen on the field at right guard because he's going to still be learning on the fly, so to speak, on all the things you talk about. And I still say that little section of that offensive line, offensively speaking, it's my biggest question mark right now.
It is, and you have to hope that Steen really learned that, like, because with Stoutland, everybody knows, like, okay, you got the five, as Miles said, 5-wheel drive. A lot of it, the whole system is all about blocking angles, and we saw he struggled with that last year in that one start he made against the Cowboys. The main thing you hope is that he learned what angles are like, and it's tough to tell from when we saw him on the field this year, but it looks like he got a little better in terms of that. I want to see when he goes against live action, and I think we'll get a good sense of that early on during training camp and seeing where he is because given all the other pieces that you have, he probably is on a shorter release than what if it was another year, because what have you. So that's why I think that's why Matt Hennessy is on his team. That's why Mekhi Becton was his team, because if it starts out looking really bad early, that gives him enough time to insert one of those other guys to the starting lineup by the time the package game begins. But I think personally, I think just looking at the way that he's developing that aspect and talking to some people, I think he'll be at least serviceable, at least beginning the start of the season.
Duck is asking a question. Did you see was Kelce around during mini camps at all? Do you expect him to be hanging around at training camp much this year, or is he completely off campus?
When we talked to Kelce during his event, he said he was there here and there in training camp. We didn't see him personally, there, but he's been around that facility a lot. Especially he said he was there, especially early on. Teasing that one too. I mean, we heard the story about Dylan McMahon, how he met him. He asked the team and just ran, "Hey, you're a rookie." Also, you see your boss, General Manager Howie Roseman, all of a sudden talking to Jason Kelce, the guy you could potentially play the position he did, and he got all this stuff for saying that. So we didn't see him. We didn't personally see him in there. So he maybe probably kept trying to keep an eye, but he said to himself he was there early on in OTAs, and he was around there just to look as well too. And he's given his number. We know Cam Jurgens has a number, and Dylan McMahon has his number to call. So he can be a de facto coach even if he's still doing the broadcasting stuff.
Yeah, because didn't I read that he's losing a lot of weight and stuff? So there's no chance that Kelce's going to unretire. So, he's lost. I want to know what his secret is to lose weight personally.
When you look at Fletcher, especially him and Fletcher Cox, when you look at them now, it's like, you guys play football? If you saw them in there, like our size now, as much because they don't have to do the lifting, they don't have to do the intense meal plans or anything else. It's just like, oh, stop playing football? Okay, done. It's crazy how quick it goes.
All right, real quick, back to the defensive side of the ball, because you mentioned the cornerbacks and how deep they are. And I think that, honestly, player or positional watch, I kind of feel like cornerback is going to be one of the most exciting things to watch this camp because, first off, how bad it was last year to play a cornerback to this year. Obviously, Howie Roseman put a huge investment. On my Twitter page, I got a poll going right now. It's not even like 20 hours old yet, so we still got a couple days. We're about 160, 170 votes in, and it's who is going to be the starting cornerback opposite of Darius Slay. I put Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Isaiah Rodgers, and other. Right now, Cooper DeJean Isaiah, can't get it out right. Quinion Mitchell is dominating the poll. Next, Isaiah Rodgers, and other third with Keely Ringo is the third most popular choice. Nobody thinks DeJean has a chance to start, which I get. Nobody thinks James Bradbury is going to be on this team week 1. Is it to me, Quinn? Oh, I love that answer. Without answering, I love that answer because I actually agree that maybe James Bradbury should be on this team. But you don't draft Quinion Mitchell in the first round where you drafted him if you don't plan on starting him. And everyone's like, he needs time. And I don't know if you draft him in that spot and give him time. Do you think he's the front runner going into camp? And who do you think could supplant him in that spot?
I think honestly, right now, I think it's Rodgers and Ringo on the outside to start, and you do see like a little bit of Cooper's more of your inside. He plays more of the I don't want to say the star safety, the star position, like playing around the line or nickel. Let's say I think he look at that, but yeah, I think I know people like want to see like you use a first round pick on it. He still has a little work to do. I mean, there's
Okay.
times when we saw him, we got beat off the line once, and he has. I will say this: he has really great closing speed. If he gets beat, he can make it up quickly. So there's no problem with that. But there's still technical things he needs to work on, and that's okay because he's a rookie. I know people like, okay, you have to draft first round. We want to see him immediately. But I think through some of these other moves that they made, they've allowed themselves to get that, and they can sprinkle them in a little bit more. Maybe use them in certain situations in dime that you use them there. Maybe use them in quarters in certain situations. And we have seen because as when we first talked to Vic Fangio in May before or during minicamp and during OTAs, he was like, "Oh, we want to put him exclusively on the outside." And say that. Well, there was a play. There was a play that we saw him running like around like the nickel slash linebacker role. So they're going to find ways to get him on the field. And it may not just be on the outside, but looking at the way that Keely Ringo played and the physicality that he showed, he's fixed. The one thing I was always worried about him is real physical defensive back. He's really great, but you're worried about like say all the illegal context downfield. That he's fixed a lot of that. The way that battle between AJ Brown and Keely Ringo during those 707s was it was must watch. It really was a lot of fun to see it. And then you saw Isaiah Rogers. You see his ability to jump the routes. You see his quickness abilities and what he can do. So I think right now we're really looking at now a 2-man race for that starting outside job, and then maybe Bradbury's more your safety slash inside guy as well too. Like I think some of these guys that are playing corner right now may see a little bit of safety as well too, just because of the way they said all interchangeable. So there's a
I
lot
want
of
you to
different ways
explain
to
this
go.
because you gave us a non-answer when I mentioned James Bradbury's name and you mentioned it again there. I've been saying it since day one. It makes more sense to keep him because if you cut him today or you cut him August 30th, you're having the same dead cap hit either way. It makes more sense to at least keep him at the start of camp, midway through camp. Maybe another team has an injury. You get a Sam Bradford type overpay trade, or he learns safety. He's depth. He's experience. I still say he's not as great as the All Pro 2022 season, but he's not as bad as he was last year. There's somewhere in the middle, and you have a lot of youth on this secondary. There's literally no harm in having him around right now, right?
There's two reasons why I think he'd still be a good fit, and B why I think they may still keep him as well. Main thing is schematically. Excuse me. When you look at the way that Vangio in the past has used his corners or the way the system, especially that cover six, is usually all the by like quarter, half in the back end. The one thing that James Bradbury does very well is play in zone coverage because it allows him to be off, it allows him to see what's in front of him, and allows him to jump the routes and get past deflections. That's what he did really well 2022. And in times when before he really went in that slide when Patricia took over and say, "No, you're playing more man." That's what he played in 2023. In 2023, I thought they should have kept him more in that zone, but we all know what happened, and yeah, especially Seattle. We saw what the result and stuff like that is. But also the other way as well too, like you mentioned, like the cap hit is if you're going to cut him and everything else, you might as well. And if you're going to cut him, you might as well use the knowledge that he has in terms of this as well too. And also this system, you need a lot of communication, you need a lot of play recognition, and knowing what the rules are, and it's really lends itself to more veterans playing in this scheme. That's another reason why I think Mitchell and even sometimes maybe a little bit Dejean may need to be worked in a little bit more as well too. There's got a lot of talent, but it's a pretty it can be a complex system at times too, in terms of passing off underneath and the different rules and stuff like that. So coupling all that together, I think Bradbury still has value in terms of this team and could be a. I'm not saying he's going to be all pro Bradbury, although history says every other year he's really good. So maybe that comes in, but yeah, I think he can still be a decent contributor to this team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Who's going to be the odd man out then? If it's not Bradbury, I still think Bradbury's got to fight for that spot. I think Avante Maddox, if it wasn't for the fact that he's got safety experience, could be an odd man out. Zach McPherson, I haven't even heard any update to how his recovery from his injury is going. I didn't hear his name once mentioned from a single Eagles reporter during the mini camp. So who's the odd man out? Is it Josh Joby? Is it Eli Ricks? Who's the odd man out?
If I had to go one person, I think Ricks is a guy that I could see in a player for player trade or release, and they try to put him on the practice squad. But good luck because everybody knows he's a young corner who has
Mhm.
some upside on there. And the reason why that is we're going to see it play out and everything in special teams because you look at McPherson, who I had a chance to talk to him a couple weeks ago, and he's full 100% go, and he's got that position versatility because not only do he play outside, he can play in the slot. So you got that as well, go too. But you look at him and Joe being the gunners on the outside. Yeah, I think especially with not only gunners but also that new kickoff coverage rule. That's going the kickoff rule. That's going to play in effect because the guys who are quick off the line and can beat their one man, basically you're in the backfield. You're direct line of sight for the kick returner. So I think that plays into a role into it as well too. And with Ricks, it's not so much as like he's primarily. I know he played the slot, but he plays a lot better on the outside, and he's got and special teams wise is not as good as Job and McPherson. So yeah, it's tough, and I wouldn't be surprised. And the one thing is going to watch is because of all these competitions. What are they going? Where are the Eagles going to go short at? Offensive line they usually keep 9 or 10, so they're not going to cut short. Maybe they go lighter at off the ball linebacker. Maybe they go lighter at well, not edge rushers because they need everybody they can get on that side. But other positions you can look like it's like maybe they go with five, maybe go with say it's a start with maybe they go with two quarterbacks and then maybe say hope Tanner McKee flows through that. There's so many options they can do. But they're so deep in that they don't want to lose anybody. We even talk about. Yeah, I know this is going to sound like a reach and everything else, but Sean Stevens might be a player who flashes. He's not going to make the roster, but he's the type of guy that's going to flash. And Tyler Hall, didn't even talk about him. There's so many guys that are a flash, and you're like, you gotta keep these guys, and you're just looking like, where's the room going to be? It's just going to be. It's a very tough decision for Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and the rest of the front office and coaching staff this year.
Guys, we're talking to Chris Franklin, NJ.com, Eagles beat reporter. One final question, one final real big question here with the Eagles. We saw from off-season camps and the having a mandatory camp. Nick Sirianni said, he's doing things more serious. He's making some changes, wants to work on the details, and doesn't want last year to happen again. And we see that by the first time him ever having a mandatory mini camp. Do you expect Nick Sirianni to change things up in training camp at all? I'm not saying he's going to go to 2-a-day practices like Buddy Ryan did back in the day, but do you expect a different tone and a different format to what he does? Do you expect him to maybe give some of the starters some preseason game reps to kind of hone down that we're serious this time, or do you think the rest of this offseason, the rest of camp is going to be just like it's always been for under Nick Sirianni?
I think we may see a series from the starters in the first game against the Ravens just to get that because they'll need a ramp up because that Brazil game, that travel, it's that weird balance of trying to give them rest because they know you got that intense travel schedule early in the season, including Brazil, versus also trying to get them amazing reps with two new coordinators as well too. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see the starters get like a series, maybe two, depending on how well they do against the Ravens. Then we know they have those joint practices. I think they'll treat those as the games and maybe give those guys a rest that week. But I would be surprised if, hey, that final preseason week against the Vikings, maybe you give them another like a series, let them rest, and then you go from there. So I think that's going to be the biggest change in there. In terms of, say, practice time and everything, the way that they run these guys and there's always something going on for them. So they're not standing around almost, you had to say Chip Kelly-ish in the way of how he just, something was always going on, nobody's not wasting time. That always happens around his practice. So I think you'll see that continue. So they don't need to necessarily say, hey, let's make it all, they color code their practices. Like red day is like a real light day, green day is full go, something like that. I don't think you'll see more green days, maybe see a couple more yellow instead of red. So it's not like 40, maybe it's 50 minutes instead of 45, stuff like that, but nothing that's going to be too intensive because I mentioned earlier, they still view it as, hey, they've gotten off to good starts in each of the last 2 years. They think that's part of the reason why they're not running everybody through in training camp. So I think those will be the main changes.
So then what's the difference that Nick Sirianni's got to do? If it's not, so they've had these great starts, but last year it didn't sustain itself. What does Nick Sirianni need to do throughout the season then to not let that, dip happen or that fall off happen? Like he's got to change something somewhere in his, philosophies to not let that kind of, fall off happen.
I think two of the things happened already with these veteran coordinators in there because I mean there was the report that was out there, showing the side basically was holding the classroom in there saying, well, what do you guys think? Should we do this? And you maybe should do this and sit and think like philosophize stuff like that. Stuff like that I think was key because then after a while I think they were personally I think is that they started losing confidence a little bit like, oh, this guy maybe this guy doesn't know as much as he does, stuff like that. So I think that played a role, and then he started getting that doubt, and it started rolling, and then they hit that patch, and just snowballs, and it just went back that way too. So I think that was key thing because you had two new coordinators, and they were trying to get a feel for it as well too, and they were young, they weren't experienced. Now you got two guys that come with certain sort of pedigree. I think that helps out a lot, so that way you don't have to worry about it going that way too. So you'll see that, and also we know it's not going to be so like that because you still got Fangio because you can see him, you can see him in his little rumble going, "It's too late. I don't want to do this anymore." Like the Belichick, he's getting that way too. So you'll see that stuff. Trust me, it won't be like it won't be a pacifist training camp, but it won't be so much as like, wow, you're getting thoughts of Lehigh happening again.
I miss the good old days of Lehigh. Is Nick Sirianni on the hot seat at all, in your opinion? Because I know a lot of people are talking that he's got a very short leash. You've got Kellen Moore, who is going to be a head coach next year somewhere, in my opinion. Whether it's here taking over for Nick Sirianni in a collapse, or we have a great season, he gets a job somewhere else. Where's your opinion on his hot seat right now?
I think it's very warm in terms of if the, I'll put it this way: if they start out 2-5, 2-6, yeah, I think with the talent they have on his team, maybe you see a change, something like that. But as long as they're competitive in the division wise, basically as long as they're competitive the rest of the season and they get beyond, they make at least a division round. I say the goal for him, especially with his talent, especially the NFC, he needs to get to the NFC Championship game
Agreed.
because, especially with the one seed, because I think that the 49ers and the Lions are they're two threats. The Cowboys basically didn't do anything. I think we've done more, had more action than their offseason. So those are the two teams you want to see. And I think even when you match them up, the team that scares me more legit, and I know everybody said the 49ers got everything like that and Brock Purdy, everything else. I look at the Lions, they're young in that running game. And that's the thing that could really, I think, when you match them up against the Eagles, that could really be the difference. And I think they could have a slight edge right now. So you get them. I think if you get to the, you should be able to get the NFC Championship game, but at least the divisional round. If he doesn't get that, then that's why I start thinking you see the calls for him to potentially looking on. Or you also got to look at the injuries too, like what happens. So there's a lot of things, variables going on. But if they start 2-5, 2-6, yeah, I think they could potentially make a move.
Well, we start the season in Green Bay, or against Green Bay in Brazil. Did you get your ticket and your passport ready yet? Are you going down?
Still,
Did NJ.com give you that budget to go down there?
I'm still
I
waiting to
think
hear.
I asked you that the last time you were on the show, and you didn't know if you were getting that approval or not.
I'm still waiting to hear. Is that for two? Because it's like too. August 2nd, we know that's a little behind the scenes thing. August 2nd is when the deadline for all the credentials for all media to go to find out. So when I get back, I wonder if I get like, hey, that next Monday or Monday, like, hey, you're going. All right, cool. And then you see also the green and yellow start trying to learn Portuguese. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Obrigado, thank you, all stuff like that.
I just see Chris Franklin out in the town in Brazil. It's a party city, from what I understand, man. I just think Chris Franklin would have a good time partying up in Brazil.
That's a dangerous thing. That's a very dangerous. But the thing, and I'm glad when they put it in, like for reference, like where the media hotel is, it's almost like the Conshohocken. It's like where Conshohocken, and then you have to go into downtown. That's where it's like for us right now. And traffic, from everything I've read and heard, is very, very bad. So it's almost like it's basically like going to a school. So I got experience with that, man. But so I might as well do that. It's like a school on a Saturday afternoon, zoo traffic and everything else. So yeah, I'll be used to it.
All right. Well, make sure everybody that's watching this, you follow my man, Chris Franklin, at C Franklin News. I always say it, and it's not just because you come on my show frequently, but between you and a couple other guys, I mean, I don't turn notifications on, but during camps, I turn yours and one other person's on, and that's it. And I just get all the reports from camp. I love the now that in this day and age, getting the cell phone camera, videos from camp, I love it. I eat that stuff up. So if anything, just do more for me, because I love those things, and I love seeing them, and I love overreacting to every single one of them that you post, man. One of the best in the business right here.
I appreciate upgraded it too. So I've been testing some stuff out during this vacation. So I'm feeling very confident of stuff to come. So I appreciate it. Thank you, man, for having me on. It's always great talking football and everything else. So thank you, man. I really truly appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Chris Franklin, make sure you hold on. What was this? We got one final Chris Franklin dropping a little Portuguese just to prove he's. See, look at that. Look, I don't just love you. My regular listeners love you. So we'll get you on again right before the season starts and everything, and have fun. I know you got a couple more days of chilling, and then the hard work really starts, not just for the players, but for you guys as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Both for both. This is the rest of this days off, and also this training
Yeah.
camp. Is that itch is there? I'm missing football, like true football. I can't wait to see it.
I don't want to talk about the home run derby anymore. I'm ready for football to start, jam here. Yeah. This
Oh,
show is so hard to do every day once football season ends.
wait
Because
till
I try to.
Wednesday.
What's that?
Wait till Wednesday, the day after the All-Star game.
I know.
Always the worst day. Always the worst day.
It's so awful. But anyway, Chris, thank you very much for coming on. I greatly appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
That was great. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. That was Chris Franklin, NJ.com. Guys, make sure you follow him. And since we just mentioned it, make sure you check out our friends at PhillySportsTrips.com because they've got a great package to Brazil to see the Eagles take on the Green Bay Packers. Maybe you'll bump into Chris Franklin when you're there. They're the premier travel and tailgate experience in the area. Self-travel packages, full travel packages, tailgates, plane trips, whatever. Like I said, the great trip to Brazil if you want to go. They also do great, tailgate experiences like the Italian Heritage Celebration. Coming up in about a month at Citizens Bank Park for a Phillies game. This week in the Pittsburgh. It's time to take that one off. They're taking deposits for spring training for our Philadelphia Phillies as they set to defend their World Series crown. So there's that. You could go down to Miami to see the Union play, and of course, all our other Eagles packages that they have. Trip to Tampa Bay in September. Bus trip down to Baltimore in December. Takeover of Dallas in November. You name it, they got it. PhillySportsTrips.com. Just make sure when you go to their website and sign up, you let them know EOP and Trending in the AM sent you. That being said, there were a lot of great comments here, and I didn't get through them all, guys. This is just, I don't even know what to say about that. Well, everything is better. Oh, here it is. Paul or Tobias Harris or Kyle Lowry, Mitchie Poo. Who would you rather? If you want to go there. Your new greater then is the Kyle Lowry train. And I love that. Yes, absolutely. I love Chris Franklin. I say it. I didn't want to drop anybody else's name. Chris Franklin, Ed Kratz, Martin Frank. They're my three go-tos for training camp, football practices, all that kind of stuff. They are fantastic. No hot takes, no crazy clickbait stuff, just straight football reporting the way it should be done. And I love those guys. And Chris Franklin's been, I don't know, I've been doing this show. We're in our third season of this show, but I've been YouTubing and podcasting for 4+ years now. I've probably had Chris Franklin on 8-9 times now over the time. So he's very gracious with his time. So I'd like to, say thank you to him again as much as I can, because sometimes the hot take stuff doesn't work. I mean, Skippy Payless, he's out at FS1 soon. Gotta love that. Kyle Lowry over Tobias Harris, but not by much. I love it. I love it. We're going to get Mitchie Poo on to hammer out some Eagles talk later during training camp, maybe. But guys, some interesting things from Chris Franklin there about the upcoming season. And if you guys got comments, I want to address this Duck. Quarterback 3 dresses, but not dressed on game day. So the rule is you could put your third quarterback on the practice squad, but they have to clear waivers to get put on the practice squad. And then you can, I think that's how it works. Something like that. He's got to clear waivers. So you can maybe have that 54th player be your quarterback 3. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. The rules are really weird to me. And I don't think Bradbury fake IR. He either makes the team or he doesn't make the team. But there were a lot of other great comments. If I messed them up, let me know. Or I missed them, let me know, and we'll get onto it. I don't know about that. Not sure how I feel about that. The hot take era is ending, I hope. I don't think it'll ever end, Fred, the hot take era. But I think people are starting to get tired of it. And these guys like Skippy Payless and Stephen A. Smithereens, get $20 million a year to do hot take TV shows. That's good. The media business is dying to begin with, at least the traditional media. And these companies like ESPN and Fox Sports don't have the money to pay these guys $20 million. So, it's the same thing why you see all these reporters getting laid off and fill, newspapers and radios. It's just the way it is. And I think fans do want, and that's what I've always tried to do here with this show, is, fans do want to have real conversations. Barbara yesterday on the show, Fred, said she wants to fire Rob Thompson. That's not a hot take. That's just the opinion. And she wants people like her want to have a conversation like that. And that's where it's going. People want to have a conversation. That's what always been my platform since day one. Pay me $20 million. I'll change my format in a heartbeat like that for $20 million. Heartbeat for 20. I will become the biggest hot take guy in the world if I was getting $20 million. I don't know where he's going. I could care less. I've said it once. I said it 100 times. I'll say it again. Once Skippy Payless criticized Dak Prescott for mourning his brother's suicide and said that's not how the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys should act in public, I lost 1,000% respect to him, and I will never, ever listen to him again. I don't care where he goes. Once he did that, I was done with him. Unfollowed, muted, done. The only time I ever see what he says is when somebody sends me something that he says, because I care less. I lost all respect for that guy when he did that. Skip is going away. Thank God. I might actually turn on FS1 once he's gone. Everybody's saying hi to Fred. I'm surprised I didn't get booted off the channel for Freddie to do the morning show, because Freddie did some numbers yesterday on the morning show. Mondays and Fridays are the highest viewed days. He did some numbers. More numbers than I ever get. Who knows? Who cares, Adam? I don't. These guys love Freddie. Freddie, you're going to have to join me one morning. You're going to have to. And I might have to hire a lawyer, because I might get fired because of the great work that, Fred did yesterday. And if I need a lawyer, Big Al better be prepared. Freddie better be prepared. I'm going to hire David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm. Realistically, he's the best workers' compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, and criminal law lawyer in the state of Pennsylvania. You can call him at 610-565-0300. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let him fight for you and get you what you deserve. He's the best. So call him, David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm, cherryinjurylaw.com, 610-565-0300. Just make sure you mention EOP. Make sure you mention trending in the AM. And like I said, if I need a lawyer to represent me when I get the boot, this is who I'm going to call. And if you need a place to watch any of your sporting events or have a good time this weekend, Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. For 65 plus years, they've been the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. Great food, great times. DolansBar.com on all social media platforms. 24 East Sellers Avenue in Ridley Park. Make sure when you go there, you tell PJ and the crew, Training the AM needs a live show, maybe live multiple-hour show right there from Dolan's Bar one morning. Guys, check them out. Make sure you let them know where you heard about them from. And back to the comments, guys. First Eagles touchdown celebration needs to be a salsa dance. Yeah, let's write this down. First Eagles TD celebration in Brazil. I love it. I love the question. I love it. We'll put that out there. Fred is definitely better than Kyle. Yeah, absolutely. Who is worse, Stephen A. or Skip Payless or Howard Scumbag? I can't pick, Adam. I can't stand any of them. I can't. I guess I would take Stephen A. Smith over the other two as the better of the three, but he's just a bold hot taker. He's never done anything way offensive. Howard's a scumbag, obviously. Skip Payless, my opinions on him, but yeah. Just follow him the best. Yeah, I don't know about that. People tune in for you. They don't tune in for me. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, that share button, that subscribe button, that follow button, wherever you are. My last day on Limits on Facebook. I can get back to sharing tomorrow. But maybe I'll slow the sharing down, because I guess Facebook didn't like me sharing out like 600 things in 1 week. So that's why I'm on timeout mode right there. All spelling is correct. Yeah. David Cherry makes me want to get arrested. Just, yeah. Oh, man, mister. Yeah, absolutely. 5650. See, I can't read it without the graphic up on the screen. I can't. Is the spelling correct? Did they update it? Did they update it, Barb? I don't even know. Nope, it's still spelled wrong there. Just so you know. I thought maybe I missed some. I only tune in for the ad reads. You are an idiot. You missed a great Eagles. You want more football talk? You missed a great conversation with Chris Franklin if you just are getting here. So you're going to have to go back and watch it. I'm going to try to get some of the EOP crew to chop it up and put some shorts out there, because I think Chris Franklin really had some interesting points. And the first question I asked him was, who is he going to have his eyes on the most? Saquon, Barkley, the cornerbacks, Bryce Huff, all these guys he could have mentioned, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens. He said his eyes on the first day of practice are going to be one person, and that's Nick Sirianni. And I love that answer, because I think it's a big concern, a big question mark, how Nick Sirianni is going to handle this quote-unquote demotion, if you want to call it that. And I love that he brought that up immediately. So, thoughts on that is that's what I'm going to be paying attention to the most as well. How Nick Sirianni handles the lack of pressure, how the lack of, full involvement in the offense. It's going to be really interesting. I think there were some great things that he wrote. Kellen Moore, wanting to see the running back. We heard for the last 2 years that Miles Sanders and then DeAndre Swift were going to line up in the slot. Kenny Gainwell was going to line up in the slot. The running backs in the passing game more. And he says he expects that a lot out of not Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert lining up in the slot more and getting more involved in the passing game. So I think that's very important. I can't wait to talk about Nick Sirianni more with our guest Friday, Gabriel Martinez, who's been a coach, offensive, head coach, all different types of leagues, Europe, everywhere. And so I'm really excited to hear what Coach Gabe Martinez has to bring to the conversation. Plus, being a Texas guy, Gabe probably has a very strong opinion, good or bad, I'm not sure, on Kellen Moore. I know he's a Houston Texans fan more than a Cowboys fan, but he's probably got a keen ability to understand what Kellen Moore does. So Friday's interview is going to be must watch. Tomorrow, I just got a text message right before the show. Tomorrow, Uriah Young had to cancel, so we do not have a guest tomorrow. So we'll dive more into Eagles talk tomorrow. We'll dive into this quarterback list again tomorrow. We'll talk home run derby and stuff like that. But yeah, all the cherry bombs. In case people weren't paying attention this weekend, your Phillies went throwback with the draft and drafted a bunch of dudes whose skill is running. Yeah, I know they drafted a young kid that's an outfielder in the first round. Elephant in the room, and shout out. We love to hate on Matty B, but Matty B and Al Zafiri, they did the live draft show for MLB draft round 1 right here, and they knew far too much about the kids coming out in the Major League Baseball draft. But fantastic work from them on that. Love to see it, for sure. Yep, they still didn't change it. Good. They're never allowed to change it. Supposedly it's a running joke. Insulting a Core 12 member isn't a great one. I didn't insult anybody. Just making sure you know. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach, so the CEO type can work. The CEO type works. I mean, Mike Tomlin's done well with it. Dan Campbell has got the Lions, charging forward. Harbaugh, obviously, with the Ravens. I'm trying to think of what other coaches. Pete Carroll was like that CEO type for a majority of his time in Seattle. I don't know if it changed ever. I'm trying to think of what other coaches are CEO types. I know they're few and far between anymore in the NFL. Most of the time you hire an offensive coach, they call the plays, and that's it. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed the draft show. That's why you got to subscribe. 7-day-a-week program, and I forgot to get the new schedule for this week up. Yesterday was a little bit of a hectic day. Is it going to be hard for Kellen Moore to spread the ball around with all these weapons? I think that's a fantastic question. Spread ball around. A question. I love it. I think it's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Whose mouth is going to suffer the most with you had this jam-packed offense, and let's not take anything away from DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift had a great season last year. He had about a little over 1,000 yards receiving or rushing. Saquon's going to get at least that, if not more. You got to think that they're going to want to feed him since he's being paid all this money. Is A.J. Brown going to take a step back? Is Devontae Smith going to take a step back? They both got paid and won't be getting paid for a while. So maybe that's, maybe they're not concerned about them taking a step back statistically. I don't know. I know we mentioned Dallas Goedert, but I'll stand by it that Dallas Goedert is the most overrated guy in the sense where he does not get the criticism he deserves for not staying healthy. That man has missed 4 or more games 3 of the last 4 seasons. And the other season he missed 2. That guy has missed like 15 games over the last 4 seasons. Nobody criticized him for it. But I don't know. Pete Carroll, Pete Carroll's one of them for sure. Andy Reid has become more of a CEO coach. Yeah, he has. I don't think he calls the plays. You're an idiot. You heard the tone in my voice. You're an idiot. It wasn't serious. Don't let me hurt your feelings. You never worry about hurting my feelings, K1. But I say one thing and your feelings are hurt. Do you need a tissue? Can Jalen Hurts quickly go through the reads to find the open man? Might be number 3 or 4 guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to learn about it. It's going to be a completely different offense for the Eagles this year. And we're going to learn a lot about Jalen Hurts. Again, I still have the utmost confidence in Jalen Hurts. We saw on ESPN, everybody shared it. Adam sent it to me. I saw it. They did their top 10 list. They took a poll from executives around the NFL, coaches, scouts, and the top 10 voted guys in the NFL quarterback-wise. Jalen Hurts is not a top 10 quarterback according to them, which is ridiculous. Because specifically, all right, you want to call me a homer for having Jalen Hurts in my top 5? Fine. But Justin Herbert being 6 is stupid because he's done nothing to prove or be worth that. Okay? Nothing but blow 30-point leads in playoff games. And that was his only playoff game. Dak Prescott is not a bad quarterback, but he's not better than Jalen Hurts. So worst case scenario, he should be in the top 8. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has played in a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts has been in the playoffs every year as a starter. Matthew Stafford, great quarterback, but getting older. Aaron Rodgers coming off an ACL or Achilles or whatever the hell it is. We don't know if Jared Goff can keep up with it. He was never that good like last year. Serious issues with that list yesterday. Matt Hennessy will be the center before the season is out. That's an interesting comment, Fred. Very interesting. I still don't know if Cam Jurgens, everybody, Fred, is so dead set that Cam Jurgens is going to be fine because he was handpicked by Jason Kelce. I have a much bigger concern with Cam Jurgens than Tyler Steen, 100%. Now, I don't know if Matt Hennessy can start and be a quality center. I don't. But there's going to be struggles with Cam Jurgens. And if Chris Franklin mentioned that Saints game, week 3, is it? I don't think he was 100% positive. I still have the Eagles schedule here. Week 3 against the Saints. It's going to be a massive test for Cam Jurgens. Massive test. And I love that he pointed that out. There's going to be some hiccups early in the season. I've been preaching the Dallas Goedert thing for years now. Joel Embiid's injury prone. He can't win the big one because he's never healthy. Well, Dallas Goedert's just as injured. You never hear criticism. I love Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert's a great tight end, but you can't help the club from the tub. Mitchie Poo, you are a child. Yeah, I got Justin Herbert 15th right now on my list. I know he's a talented quarterback, but he just doesn't have it. He does not improve his team one iota. I like Hurts, but he seemed to seldom get to the third option, not to mention the fourth. It was that schematically. Also, there was only 2 options sometimes on the field that he trusts. Dak Prescott is somewhere between 10 and 15. I forget where I put him. I still got my quarterback list here. Here it is. Where's Dak Prescott? I got Dak Prescott at 13, Herbert at 15 on my ultimate quarterback ranking list. Maybe I'll share that out on social media again today to see if it stirs up some trouble. Some guy on Pat McAfee's show had Lamar and Burrows at 19 and 20. That's just doing that just to cause problems, Barbara. That's just trying really hard to get clicks. At least this one by ESPN was a poll taken by actual NFL execs, coaches, and scouts. But the fact that they still think Justin Herbert that highly over Jalen Hurts tells me that there's a problem. Can Jeffrey Lurie stop meddling with this team? I don't know. I think that's something we don't talk about enough, but maybe 10 likes is not enough. I appreciate that, Mitch. I can't wait. Just booked my trip to Baltimore. Nice. That is exactly what Hennessy was brought in for. That way they have options if Jurgens doesn't work out. I also think, Duck, it could be a scenario where Jurgens is only doing okay, but Tyler Steen is bombing at right guard. So they slide Jurgens back to guard and then start Hennessy. Maybe that's part of it. Or maybe that's the way it plays out, Duck. Jurgens was a borderline all-pro at right guard. He wasn't, but he was close. He was a highly rated right guard throughout the season last year. He had some injuries. Missed a few games, I think. But, or maybe one game. But, you created another hole by sliding him over to center. I love the draft of Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. But you had Jackson Powers-Johnson and other centers available in the second round that you could have drafted and slotted in there and kept Cam Jurgens at right guard. Just saying. I think I'll be paying close attention to it. I hope that my fears are a waste of time, and Cam Jurgens is great. Tyler Steen is great. I hope that the faith we have in Coach Stoutland and Stoutland U pays off again. But I'm worried. Who can't take a punch? Cotter, yeah. Burrow at 19 or 20 hot. Yeah, that's crazy hot take. I will say this: has Joe Burrow's already peaked? I'll say that. But you have to develop trust in option 3. Yeah, I think that was more the issue: the trust in option 3 and 4 versus not getting to the read. Did he really have trust in Quez Watkins, Duck? Did he really have trust when Goddard's out, when Jack Stoll's starting? I think that played just as much of a role in it that Jalen Hurts can't get to than that, if you understand what I'm saying. Laurie didn't bring back his second biggest mistake, Patricia. Yeah, absolutely. Hennessy could play guard too if needed. Okay. So there you go. Maybe we see Hennessy, take over starting position at some point. Okay. Steen only had one start last year, so I'm guessing Jurgens was out. Yeah, so maybe he got hurt mid-game and then missed the next game. I'm thinking we had a lot of Tyler Steen. Maybe it wasn't that much of Tyler Steen, Duck. And Steen did okay filling in sporadically. But again, Kelsey on one side, William Johnson on the other makes a big difference. And I still think that is such an underrated topic. You had Kelsey and Johnson bookending whoever was at guard the last couple of years. Now you got Cam Jurgens trying to figure out how to follow in the footsteps of Jason Kelsey. He don't got time to be like elbowing, Tyler Steen, you got to do this or that. He's got to focus on his responsibilities. So now Lane Johnson, has got to do all the babysitting of Tyler Steen on the line. I think that there's more to it than people realize. I really do. Steen rotated in several. Okay, so he did play some snaps, yeah. Everyone keeps blowing this topic off. It's a big deal. Which one? Sorry, you have a lot of comments. Everyone keeps blowing this topic off. The Cam Jurgens topic, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I've spent multiple shows on Cam Jurgens and Tyler Steen and discussing it. And everyone tells me I'm crazy for thinking that Cam Jurgens is going to be anything than perfect at center. The majority of the people, I put a poll out on this a couple weeks ago on Twitter, and everyone told me I was nuts for even suggesting that there was concern. Yeah, O-line uncertainty in general. The Kelsey one, I know you have, and I'm crazy. I don't think I'm crazy. I don't. Got to do a fill in Fred. Yeah, I watched 20, 25 minutes of the show last night or yesterday afternoon, and he did a fantastic work. I've never worked with Fred before. We'll have to bang heads one day. Stop, Mitchie. I'm going to tell you to stop with the 12-year-old jokes. Just saying. But anyway, guys, we got to start the wrap-up process here. But yeah, we had a good conversation. There's still a lot on my agenda that we didn't cover. Obviously, we barely touched on the quarterback list from ESPN. I was looking at the ESPN depth charts for the Eagles. I thought there were some interesting things on there. We'll get to that. I want to continue talking about Fangio and more this week. Obviously, we got a great guest coming on Friday. Tomorrow, we will recap the All-Star game, talk more football. Who knows what else? I did have Sixers Summer League box scores up. And, talking about Summer League gets kind of boring, but, we're in the offseason. So it is what it is. I have the height of you do have the height of a 12-year-old. Thank you, Adam, for tuning in. High five, homie. Yeah, right back at you. We'll cover things tomorrow, Phil. No, if I didn't have a pizza shop, we would go for 2-3 hours. But nobody wants to buy my pizza shop, so I got to work regularly. But also, you guys got to make sure you tune in tonight at 6 p.m. There's going to be a fun episode of Fairway to Heaven. Myself and Jason. We got Scotty Holdridge and we got Stevie Fuentes joining us. We're going to have a fun conversation on the Open Championship, talking golf, gambling on golf, and how much my heart was broken at last week's Genesis Scottish Open by Ludwig Aubert. Run blocking is less complicated than pass blocking for the center. Hopefully, I think that's a great comment, mister. And I always say it, our offensive line is built to run block. It's a lot easier to push forward than step back on your heels. So does Kellen Moore and the Eagles offense lean heavier on the run early in the season while Cam Jurgens and Jalen Hurts are getting used to this new offense and Cam Jurgens a new position? I think that's a fantastic point, mister. Fantastic point from you. And bring this up on tomorrow's show or later in this week, because I'd love to tackle this a little bit more detailed. And what we should do with Saquon and the running backs. Yeah, of course. I'm sure you'll comment tonight for Jason. Go Michigan, right? Yeah, always. All right, with that being said, guys, I am Phil Stiefel, your host. This is Trending in the AM, the #1 morning show in Philadelphia, even if you didn't know it. Can't wait till yeah, what are they going to do with the tush push? I mean, are they going to bring it back? Who knows? Dante, what's up? I'm here at Summer League. My best friend is Jameer Nelson. McCain needs work. I love Bona. Dante, that's awesome. I love that. Come back tomorrow in the conversation. I would love to hear some of your thoughts on Summer League. And your best friends. Can you get me Jameer Nelson to be a guest on this show, Dante? Hit me up. Love to get Jameer Nelson. His son's in Summer League. I forget what team signed Jameer Nelson Jr. I feel old as hell knowing that Jameer Nelson has a son that's kind of a fringe NBA player right now. Makes me feel really old right now, even seeing that. Do you make fresh cheese in your pizza shop? No, I do not make fresh cheese. Sorry. Appreciate it, guys. With that being said, though, we hit the end mark. I got to get to work. I wanted to say it, but I didn't want to sound stupid. I was going to say Spurs or Sacramento. I knew there was an S involved in the name there. But it makes me feel old knowing that Jameer Nelson's kid's in the NBA right now. I mean, I know I'm old, but, man, I feel really old. But with that being said, guys, we're going to start the wrap-up process here. Guys, hope everybody have a great day. Again, shout out to Chris Franklin for coming on for about 30 minutes today. I greatly appreciate his time always. We'll get him on again before the season starts, of course. Everybody have a great day. Like, subscribe, follow, please. I beg you. See you guys tonight at 6 p.m. for Fairway to Heaven. Go Birds. Ring that bell. And, guys, as always, bubbles up to you.